Hello race fans, sim fans, RC fans, Racing 393. So my last video I had a running video of my Nitro Traxxas 4Tec. It went okay if you watch the video. There are a few things that I needed to do. The first and foremost thing would have been the second gear changing. The fact that it probably didn't do it. I have since found, well, people that know this car will probably know how to do it. I mean, I must admit, I didn't, but I've since found out how I can possibly adjust the second gear kind of when it changes and if it changes. So I'm going to quickly show you what I found for those of you who perhaps might not know this. So it's going to be very difficult to show you on camera, I have to say, so I'm going to move the camera so that I can show you in stages. Looking at down here, you've got the 2-speed. I wonder if you've got enough light there. Let me just see if I can move my little makeshift light. It's difficult because I don't know where to hold this and there's stuff everywhere. Right, down there. Behind the 2 gears there's a silver drum, if you like. Now in that drum has got 2 Allen key access bolts, screws. One is to hold the 2-speed onto the spindle, which runs through the centre, and there's an offset 2mm Allen screw, grub screw, which apparently, if you screw it in, will tighten up the second gear, so it will change late, and if you undo it, will do the opposite, will allow the vehicle to change gear sooner. Of course, you can overdo this on either occasion, and secondly, the actual timing of this second gear change is really important with the tuning you have of the carb. If you've got a nice clean, crisp first gear run and a certain rev range, it will change. If it's weak or too rich and it isn't quite pulling like it should, then it won't do the gear change at the correct time. So there's a lot of other things to consider. Now, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to show you where this grub screw is. The problem is I can't do that and hold the camera, especially on the, I've got to have 3 hands and I just haven't got that. So, okay, as you can see there, I can't zoom in too much because it seems to distort the video. I'll try. No, I can't zoom in on the camera, not manually. So at the top of the drum, you'll see an access hole. At the moment, let me just have a look. I'll move my camera and the light. And the access hole just goes down on the inner drum at the moment. There's nothing there. So I need to turn the inner drum whilst keeping the outer drum clutch, if you like, stationary. So I'm going to try and do that now. I've turned, it's actually the outer spur gear, if you like, to hold, and you just roll the car. And you'll probably, hopefully see there, it's just right underneath the brake bar. That first access hole, that one just holds the gears onto the spindle. It's more square, it's sort of kind of straight down, if you like. There's another hole just after that one, which I'm going to turn the car a little bit more, and it's kind of at an angle. So it goes down alongside that hole, and you put the Allen tool into that. So let me just try and move the car forward a fraction to show you the difference. Hopefully you can see that hole is a bit difficult to see. But I can just make out that that's the hole. You can just see it there, look. So there is the second hole. Hopefully you can see that. It's slightly off center. And doing that up with a 2mm tool, Allen tool, you can screw it in to tighten up these springs, screw it out to loosen them. So I have screwed it in. You've got to be careful. I don't know if anyone's had a go at it before, but if you've not got the tool in at the correct angle, right size, whatever, you know what grub screws, 2mm grub screws can be like. You can burr them very easily and they can strip, so you can't get a tool on them. So you've got to be very, very careful when turning the tool to make sure you're undoing or doing it up and it's not just slipping. So it has to go in at the correct angle. The angle is important. It looks like it's straight down, but in fact it's not. It is slightly to the side. So it encourages you to put the tool in, and as you turn it, it feels like it's turning, but then it suddenly slips. Now, I have turned it. I've actually turned it in as far as I could go without doing it too tight. So I knew it was moving, because it did resist. And then I sort of kind of undone it the same amount of turns out, and then a bit more. They do say only needs something like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of a turn at a time, because you can overdo it. So I have changed that. So next time out, we'll see if it makes a difference. I know how to change it now, so if it's wrong when I'm running it, then I can adjust it again. So the next thing I'm going to quickly do is we had a fuel leak, or a gas leak here through the header and where the exhaust. Well, I call that the manifold. So we've got the exhaust and the manifold. I suppose they're called headers as well. So it's the same thing. Between that two cable ties, there was a leak. So I'm going to remove the exhaust. I need to undo the spring on the end, and then, in all intents and purposes, it should just pull out. I can give it a wipe down and reapply some cable ties and maybe get them a little bit tighter, and that'll be that. And then the next thing, what else was I going to do? I think that's it. Oh, adjust the brakes. So I need to get the transmitter for that, but I probably won't do that on camera. It's just a case of doing the end points, so that when I apply the brake, it's actually doing something. Right, so I'm going to take that off, and I'll come back to you when I've kind of got it removed. Exhaust has been removed. There's the rubber gasket. Exhaust underneath. I've given it a little bit of a wipe down. I've noticed that there's a bit of chafing on the servo wires there, so I'm going to put a bit of tape around that. Getting a little bit of a wipe down to there as well, so it's not oily. I'm going to sort of put some tape around that just so it doesn't chafe. And then that black there is fine. That's just where it's, it's not greasy. And then reposition the exhaust and just do those cable ties off a bit tighter. What I did find, taking the cable ties off, I snipped one, which is fine. The other one broke up, so it probably wasn't on there very tight. It probably lost its strength with the heat and everything. It's probably got a bit, weak. So I'm going to replace that. Do a wipe down first. Let's do that wiring there, just so you can see where it's chafed. I don't really want it to get hot or go through, because it could, unnecessary problems with the electrics. Right, let me just tape that up. So there we have, I put a bit of plastic tape, PVC tape around the bit that's scuffed, and then there was a sheath, plastic sort of sheath that went round that to protect the wires that were kind of near the exhaust. I've just cable tied that up a little bit so it's not loose and doesn't flop around, so that will stay where it is. I'll now put the exhaust back on and cable tie it up and then bolt it back together. All back together. The cable tie's done up quite tight. Exhaust back on. Had to use a different screw or bolt at the end there, because the other one, for some reason, it wasn't stripped, but it just wouldn't bite onto that. I don't know why, but so I put a different one on there, put a wash on there for a spacer. It's all good. So it's just the brakes to do, which I'll do off camera for now. And maybe a little bit of another little bit of a wipe down here and there, but other than that, repair the body and out we go. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.